Ohio State then turns it over on downs with 4 minutes to go in the game on the 4th and 1 at the 11-yard line. And then Notre Dame picks up a couple first downs, and you're like, oh my gosh, they are one more first down away from salting this thing away. So it almost got away from them, I'll say that, but they were able to pull it out.
Interestingly, between the 2 touchdown drives for Notre Dame, that came the third down completion by Kyle McCord for a first down that was eliminated by Josh Fryer's unnecessary roughness on his pancake finishing up a block. That happens 25 times a game. That got flagged for Ohio State. It happened earlier in the game. Josh Simmons did it. So there's no flag there. And so if there's no penalty there, Ohio State is driving the ball. That happened at the Notre Dame 39. Yeah, and so Ohio State was going to have the ball, in.
I thought it was the right call because he jumped on him with his forearm to the helmet kind of like thing. I mean, they weren't going to call targeting, but I think it was definitely no need for it. The guy's on the ground and the play is going away. I mean, there was no reason to even block that guy.
He's right by the quarterback. I mean, the quarterback is still there. I think I tweeted that if they called this like every time, like Orlando Pace would have accumulated like 135 yards in penalties every game for finishing a block. But it wasn't something that Josh Fryer needed to do, but it's something that we see a lot. Like it was like Davis Nigbinosin getting flagged for shoving somebody out of bounds. It got picked up. It wasn't something he needed to do. Just things like that in this game can cost you, and it almost cost Ohio State. Just that extra aggressiveness that they've been trying to preach to their offensive line, they got it, and it almost cost them the game.
And what about Xavier Johnson? So, first of all, it was a well-designed play. Secondly, it was, at least my response was, oh, yeah, this guy, he shows up out of nowhere. What is he, Robert Ory? He just shows up clutch time. It's, that was a big play, of course.
Yeah, he must love playing Notre Dame. He had a touchdown last year. He had the big play in this game. I mean, some guys just have that clutch gene, and, you like having them, and Ohio State thinks the world of them to put the Block O jersey on them and everything else. But, watch out, Georgia, if Ohio State plays Georgia again, since, those seem to be the two teams that he has, Herculean efforts against.
And the thing I like about that play is Xavier Johnson starts that play in the backfield as the running back, and then Kyle McCord pushes him out to the slot, and there's nobody there to deal with them because they're so worried about Marvin and everybody else. And that's what's going to have to happen the rest of the season, as Marvin Harrison is being doubled more than maybe they expected. Not that they didn't expect it, but more than they've seen before. So that's going to leave other guys freer. So they just need to capitalize on that. And they did, even though it ended up being a wasted drive. Because if we want to go back to the whole toughness talk, I already had my column written in my mind after Emeka Ibuka got stopped on that end around. Like, you want to preach toughness, and what you do on 4th and short is you're throwing and you're running your wide receiver to the short side, to the boundary, in an end around. When if you're preaching toughness, but your play calling is telling us that you don't trust your offensive line to get that 1 yard straight ahead. So it's what we're watching is a play caller who doesn't think that his offensive line is tough enough to get that 1 yard straight ahead. And then fortunately for everybody involved with the Ohio State football program, they got the ball back and they went down and won it and got that 1 yard straight ahead. But this was Ryan Day's own doing. And the comments about, being soft or whatever, some of it has to do with the play calling as well, and not just execution. And the execution was an issue because they had 5 attempts running the ball on 3rd or 4th and short, and the only one they got was at the end of the game.
My response will be a little less sentimental, so maybe you should have kept this to Steve. I'm not comparing Ohio State and the Cleveland Browns in any such way. The Cleveland Browns post autogram, Paul Brown, Blanton Collier. So no, those Cleveland Browns teams do not remind me of these Ohio State teams, because they had no prayer, no chance in hell of ever winning a championship. They were getting by a thread, and 11-5 seasons could have been 7-9 seasons because they really weren't that good. They were good for the Cleveland Browns, but they really weren't that good. On that note, I remember Steve made the comment last week when we were talking about running back distribution that Travion Henderson's in the game because at any point, if you give him a crease, he can take it to the house. And
Boy, oh boy.
he did. And that made a huge difference, of course, in a 3-point low-scoring game.
Thankfully for their rushing numbers, he broke one big one because you take that one out, they averaged 2.5 yards an attempt. So it was not much to write home about other than that one play, but they blocked it perfectly. The backside tackle and guard, the off-malign Josh Fryer and Matthew Jones came around and just obliterated everybody. And then Marvin Harrison, hit his block on the perimeter. And he was off. He outran the defensive back down the sideline, and that's what speed will do for you if you get it in the open field. And I think that's the challenge for this team and these coaches is to find ways to get him free.
On that note, let me ask this to the panel here. When I think all the way back through Jim Tressel, I'm not going to take it any back further than that. I always knew what this offense was all about. And it morphed a little bit at different times during Jim Tressel. He actually opened it up at times when he had the wide receiver play, etc. Urban Meyer, you knew what they were all about on offense. And Ryan Day has obviously brought us into another age of Ohio State football. This team, does this offense have an identity at this point?
An identity in that they can't do something yet. Like, yeah, no. In terms of what do they hang their hat on?
Yeah,
third downs, third and long. No, they. If you think about what do you expect them if they were playing Penn State this week, would you expect them to rush for more than 120 yards? Because I would.
No, absolutely not.
And
what Penn State did to Iowa was criminal. 17 rushes, 20 yards. I'm getting ready to go down to NBC4 and do a segment. They held Iowa to 76 yards. Yeah. Oof.
No, the only criminal there is Brian Ferentz, and that's for thievery.
Yes, he's stealing his money. This will be Exhibit A in the trial of Brian Ferentz on December 5, 2023.
They had like 15 minutes time of possession, 4 first downs.
33 plays. 4
33
first downs.
33 plays. I've never heard anything like that. And I'm the guy harping on the clock rules, killing everybody this year.
Clock is rolling.
Ohio State had 8 possessions in this game. I've never seen anything lower than that. And I went back to like 2003, and there are only games with 9 possessions, and that was against option teams and teams that ran the ball 80% of the time. So 8 possessions, the clock rule is a real thing, but even more impactful is Brian Ferentz as a play caller.
Yeah, I have that Iowa Penn State game on the DVR, and I'm not sure if I am self-loathing enough to sit down and watch it or not, because I will keep it because I think it'll be good evidence to watch prior to Penn State week of what Penn State is capable of doing. But then you have to remind yourself that Iowa's just wholly incapable.
Yeah. 7:30 this weekend, Saturday night, Michigan State at Iowa.
There's 2 games this week. Michigan State, Iowa, and Illinois, Purdue, both teams one of them will get their first Big Ten win. So there you go.
I think they should make that Michigan State, Iowa game first team to score wins.
Well, it won't be Michigan State, and it won't be Iowa. So
you're discounting the pick sixes, Steve.
We now just go right to the point where we're going to have each team attempt 2-point conversions.
The first offense that scores.
It's the 14th overtime.
It's coin flip it at that point. It's just like deciding the Big Ten champ and the division champ when all of the tiebreakers are even. Let's consider all of these tiebreakers even on this game, and let's just flip a coin.
Gross.
Feeble is as feeble does.
Yeah, it is. For as great as that Penn State defense could be, I'm not going to proclaim them to be great today, but they do have first rounders on every level. Everybody is going to score on them, I'm pretty sure, and gain more than 76 yards.